Is Councilor Rich with us? Is Councilor Rich with us?
I do not say I see.
Okay. So I'm gonna give him a moment and then we'll get started. All right. Let's go ahead and bring our city council meeting for Monday, September 23rd to order. We'll go ahead and let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's do roll call real quick here. Councilor Myers.
Here.
Councilor Cuthbertson.
Here.
Councilor Williams.
Here.
Councilor Lindner.
Here.
And let's see, Councilor Winther is going to be running a little bit late. Councilor Rich, we're expecting on Zoom, so we'll just go ahead and we'll move forward. Thank you all for being here tonight. I would like a volunteer to read section 2.1 before we do public items and comments. Okay, thank you, Councilor.
The public comment period is designed to gain input from the public. Public comment is not intended to be a dialogue between council, staff, and any person making a comment. Any person who raises a question during public comment should rest assured that the city staff is making a note of your question, and the council and staff will work together to identify the appropriate city official to follow up with you directly.
Perfect, thank you. All right, with that, do we have any public comments this evening? Come on up, Tim. And we'll have you, I don't think that mic is on, so we'll have to turn it on.
At the table here.
Hmm?
That should be, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, gotcha.
Just to make sure.
Here, give it back to me.
Yeah.
So I can read.
Always fun. The way it is, it's open to the audience.
Okay, gotcha.
Okie dokie. I know you're talking about the drop structure tonight, and I, like Councilor Cuthbertson brought up last meeting, the project starts. When the project starts, where's it gonna go? Is it gonna get finished? We're assured it's gonna get finished, but what if it doesn't? You know, where's that money coming from? Are the taxpayers gonna pay for that? I'm concerned with it because I am a taxpayer of the city of Monroe. So we take the drop structure down 7 feet of water that affects wildlife upstream of the river. Then I heard that wildlife will adapt over time, but you're going to dry up some of the sloughs up that way once you take this down. You know, and then there's the fish part of this also. the fish can adapt too, right? If the wildlife can adapt. So there's other streams that dump into here. Sometimes I have a question of what's the urgent need to take out the drop structure in the first place? Boating and canoeing is going to be affected. And I've seen plenty of people canoe and boat in there. Is it really about the fish? Used to be lots of carp at the north end of the dam, which is above where you want to take out the drop structure. I don't see as many now. We used to have cutthroat trout up there, bass, crappie, and we still do. And there was an occasional piranha. Remember that? Yeah. Well, I know that's not native of here. I've watched this project grow from the start. I was on ground level 1 of this. And through the years, it's taken a long time to get this far. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but there's a lot of questions I'd like answered before things get too carried away. I've seen this river flood to where you can't even see the drop structure / dam. It's just gone, because of the weather. And then there was a thing I just read about the pool water system has failed in the past with a drop structure sluice door failing. I'd never seen that before. That was like a one-time thing, I believe. I don't believe it ever happened in the past, and it hasn't happened since then. Yeah, it dropped the water real fast because there's nothing to hold it back. It got fixed, and we're back in business in 2 days. So, I don't know about that, but sometimes I still don't see the importance of taking out the dam. I heard something about 50 years. Well, I only had a 50 years lifespan left on it. I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago. But who knows that? Who knows that? So, there's just a lot of speculation, a lot of theory. And I have so many questions about some of this. And I was handed a paper tonight. I'll read later on my own, but I just, I'm like with Jeannie about who's going to pay for this if it doesn't totally quite get done. I'd like to see I've seen pictures of this, lots of pictures of this, people's ideas, but I still like to know what it's going to look like in some kind of form or fashion. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
See if I can get back up here.
You're fine. Hey, who else? Oh, you're welcome. Who else would like to make public comment? Okay, come on up, RA.
Oh, boy. Here I am again. Well, I have a lot of paperwork here, but I'm going to try to speak sort of off the cuff. I hope this is the last time I have to speak about the library issue. I do feel like things are in a good space right now for things to move along. However, there has been, this has been a tough process, a lot of passion, a lot of upset. And my understanding is that a considerable portion has been because of me and regarding social media. So this is somewhat personal. And I find it a little difficult to speak about personal issues in a public meeting, but because it may, I've been contemplating the issue and thinking about it for a couple of weeks now. We had a work session and Councilor Williams spoke about how it's taken a personal toll. So has Councilor Cuthbertson and Councilor Lindner spoken to me about it. And I've been trying to assess whether or not, to what degree I should feel responsible for the issues that have emerged. And the whole question about using social media. Now, in general, is social media forbidden from being used?
Nope.
Should I feel like I cannot appeal to social media to discuss government agenda? Obviously not. Then the question is, did I say anything inappropriate, inciting violence or doing anything that was out of line? And I actually looked back at everything that I commented on, and I was like, as far as I can see, everything I said was fairly professional, if impassioned. And then the question is, to the degree that it has taken a personal toll, how am I responsible for the actions of other people that I don't know? I certainly find it regrettable that these things happen. They shouldn't have. It's inappropriate. It's inexcusable for you to be confronted. I am very sorry that it's been very difficult for you and for Councillor Cuthbertson. But as far as I'm concerned, looking back at things, all I can ask myself is, was it justified? Was it warranted? And that really comes down to the question of, was the library being threatened? I know that you guys have all stated quite explicitly that you didn't have any intention to threaten the library at all. And I believe you completely. I mean, I totally believe you. But the fact remains, the library was threatened, and it can be very well documented. The very initiation of the process of the IGA in itself was already posing a threat to the library. It went on for quite a long period of time. There was no clarity on what the problems were. It finally got pushed to the point that the library was about to actually close down operation if you guys didn't pass the extension in a weekend. And my understanding was at that night that on the emergency meeting on June, that there was a proposal on the table put forth by the city that was a non-starter. The library district and the district, the library director could not agree to that, even if she wanted to. And yet I was told also that that was a deal breaker, that if you didn't get this MOU, this memorandum of understanding of getting money back from the district, you weren't going to sign the IGA. That's what I heard. And on top of it, there was this move, this explicit move to actually relocate City Hall, at least the offices, into the library. That is a threat. And I had about 2 hours to demonstrate that the people of this community weren't going to be put up with that. Now, I'm sorry that I had to, mobilize the community, but I thought it was an absolutely appropriate thing. And if I reflect on everything I've said on social media, I've actually defended you guys from unjust accusations and blame for things that you had nothing to do with. So I feel like I bend over backwards, but please understand that I do feel a tremendous amount of regret that things got apparently out of hand and impassioned. Which kind of leads me to sort of just what do I want from saying this? Not just to process this issue, but what do I want from this? And I think that there was a couple of failures, and the main failure that I feel that I can want to lay at your feet is that there was a lack of communication. The very moment that you saw a social media post and you said, well, Ari, what the hell are you doing? Why didn't any one of you come to me and say, what the hell are you doing? A conversation might have nipped this whole thing in the bud, but I was proactive. I tried to reach out, but I was met with silence. And then apparently, coincidentally, it was at a time where you guys were ordered by the lawyers not to talk to me or talk to anybody. It just felt like complete stonewalling. And I understand that this community is a very difficult community to govern. I understand your jobs are extremely hard. I appreciate it. Believe it or not, I actually like all you guys and I support you. I think you guys are doing a good job in governing this as best you can. What I don't think that you're doing is you're doing enough what I call just basic politicking. You're not, your PR is not good. You're not going out and shaking hands with people and having conversations. And if there's people who are riling things up, go and talk to them. Come talk to me. It's pretty easy. And if I got a call from any one of you, hey, RA, what's going on? I saw a social media post. It's not cool. I would be my conversations have been completely civil. I'm a reasonable person. So my recommendation, if my constructive criticism is, please try to be proactive in your communications with people instead of always doing damage control. There's a lot of wounds that have that are not your responsibility, that have occurred between the city and the community and the library in particular. If you actually knew about the history of the library, you would know that this was a particularly sensitive issue because the prior administrations were against the construction of the library. They actually put up barriers to it, and the people of this community, through philanthropy, donations, fundraising, made that happen. And on top of it, there's a fund available to actually take care of a lot of the maintenance costs that you guys it has never been mentioned. This issue of cost sharing, it's just not right.
So Ari, I need you to wrap up.
Yes, I appreciate it. You're quite right. I apologize. I got a little bit carried away there. So my recommendation is, well, my first thing is I express my regret. I don't think I did anything wrong. It was regrettable. The consequences, constructive criticism, please try to work on your PR. It would actually make these issues decrease the temperature and repair damage that has been done between the city and the community that you govern. Thank you.
Thanks, Ari.
Thank you.
Do we have a moment to respond to that, or are we not, we're not engaging in bi-directional conversation about that right at this time? I know we've got a full agenda, so it's okay if we don't have time for a response.
Why don't we wait till the end?
Sounds good.
We'll get through the agenda. Any other public comments this evening? Okay, going once, going twice, 3 times, we're out. Okay. All right, let's move on. We'll move on to the staff reports, and we've got the sheriff online right now. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. Apologize for not being there in person.
You're fine.
Like I said last time, I had knee surgery. I went to physical therapy, stretched, did some stuff, and then had a meeting and never made it back to the office to get changed. So I apologize.
We're happy you're here and you're online. You're fine.
Any questions for me about the report this month?
I noticed that there were 10 stops on September 15th. What's that about? Why was that Sunday so busy? Any ideas? Was there like an event happening or just like a lot of traffic coming through?
I would guess that was Deputy Sinclair being incredibly proactive after being told.
That's awesome.
Wasn't that after the Beaver game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that would have been after the Civil War game.
Okay, that explains it. A lot of anger and road rage, probably.
Well, just a lot of people in town. So I mean, it was good.
Carried over.
Good call. Good call.
There was 9 on the 15th.
I know you had the little trailer out down on the south end of town and we're able to find that the speeds were not within normal limits. How's that been going as far as making sure that people are actually heeding that and kind of getting on top of that?
Well, we've been pretty proactive, and I would say that I had Lieutenant Bodorf go down there, and Lieutenant Bodorf has been doing this for a long time, and he thought it was kind of funny because every time a car would come into his visual, the front end would just slam down. During the brakes, because as soon as they saw him, they would slam down, and they'd go from however fast they were going to just below the speed limit. And so, I mean, I feel like we're making a difference, but I can also tell you that there was an article in the paper recently. Just about everybody's in a hurry, and if you come to Corvallis, a green light doesn't mean go anymore. It means you got to make sure the intersection's clear before you proceed because you might get T-boned. It just sure seems like everybody's in a hurry. You go out to Spring Hill Road in the north portion of the county, they drive too fast. You go down to Bell Fountain Road, and everybody's driving too fast. And so my guys are busy, and we recognize that it's certainly a problem, and it is certainly a problem down there. And I guess my question would be, have you noticed any difference?
No, sorry, I haven't.
No, that's okay.
It's
That's
been,
what I need to know.
that's kind of what I wondered, because we, at one point, I mean, I noticed that there's more traffic warning here. There's a couple sites, but they're mostly arrests, so it looks like possibly you pulled somebody over and then found out they had other things that they needed to take care of. But, you know, maybe speed just isn't something that, necessarily, gets taken care of anymore. It's more something where they just want to warn. That could be why people are going faster too, if there's no
Well,
consequences.
I will say that we had nine traffic citations, which is over 50. It's over 50% for the
Okay.
month.
That's
And
good.
typically that number should realistically, just based on past patterns, be like 3 or 4. And so I'm happy that they are writing more tickets, and I will certainly go back to the patrol captain and express your desires to see a little bit more proactive law enforcement as it relates to speeding. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Should have seen 99 south coming from Corvallis on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was going 58 just to keep from getting rear-ended.
Mhm.
I will tell you, and I mean, it sounds silly, but when we came down there to do our presentation with the captains, I had a guy, I knew I was going to stop him when I looked at my rearview mirror, and he passed like four people, and then I was in a group of like 3 people he passed, and I stopped him, and he knew better. I knew better, and I'm like, yeah, you sure did. So I mean, that's just what you're up against, and it's
Yeah.
unfortunate. I had a new deputy coming back from Monroe, and literally somebody passed him and had a head-on collision right in front of him on camera. Right? I mean, it just, people are in a hurry and they don't pay any attention, and it's something that's going to have to be addressed, not just locally but across the country. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm pro ticket and not a fan of accidents. So I'm just kind of like, for me, I'm like, I would much rather see somebody get a slap than be burying them. It's just so scary out there. And especially like on my little strip where we have so many people that walk and are on scooters, and kids and animals, the deer. It's pretty bad.
no,
People
I
miss those
absolutely,
deer.
I empathize with you. I do. I take Highway 20 every day, 2 to 4 times, and I had rules for my daughter. I mean, I didn't want her out there in the dark. I didn't want her out there when it was
Yep.
raining. Just for those very things. It's you can't predict behaviors of others,
Right.
and it's pretty frustrating, no doubt.
Thank you for all you're doing.
Well, we can do more, and I will talk with the captain tomorrow morning at management. We will do more.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for the sheriff? No? Counselor Rich, did you have anything you wanted to?
No, I mean, other than just, I don't know, I know I had mentioned before kind of looking into, speed cameras, because I know that they had changed the laws around those in the last year or so. I know that you guys can't be out there all the time.
Right.
Also, that may cause issue clogging up the docket with the with the city court. But you know, I don't know what your experiences are around. I don't know if there are any in Benton County currently.
They're in the process of putting one by North Albany Middle School. The city of Albany is.
I'd be interested to just once that's up and running, just to get a report and see how that's changing things, because I just know if we're, I don't know, there's only so many of you guys to, be down there, checking for speeding and stuff. And, maybe that might be a positive change if we looked into
Well,
something.
and since you mentioned it, I do want to assure you as well, all of you. I was unaware that the municipal codes have been codified. And so as such, they had not been, my staff had not been enforcing your municipal code.
Oh, okay.
I've since learned that it has been codified, and we've taken steps to make sure we're in the process of getting everything added to the system now. But the undersheriff did send out an email to all patrol staff letting them know that we can still issue paper citations in Monroe. And so you should start seeing a little bit of an uptick of folks maybe going in through municipal court versus circuit court. Now that I have an idea, and I've shared that in my desires with the staff as well.
Yeah, and it's not that we want, I don't know, we're not looking to like make money off of it. It's just we want people to actually stop and slowing down just when you think you're going to get caught is not is not really the outcome.
Yeah, it doesn't
that
cut it. No.
Well, and I can tell you, as 18 years with Corvallis Police Department, we had a lot of municipal codes that mirrored circuit court codes, and so it was a case by case deal whether they went through circuit court or municipal court. And I was always pretty fortunate just because I never had anybody second guess me. But there was times when you look at somebody like, really, you gonna take that through circuit court this time? Or I mean, it did. So it's a case by case deal. But I can assure you that now that we have the codes, you'll start seeing some uptick in your municipal court as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. All right, if there's nothing else.
Thank you, Sheriff. Wishing you a speedy recovery.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We'll see you next month, but we'll also see it Spooktacular where we'll be
Yep.
down there. So,
Definitely see you there.
Excellent.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
all right. Have a good night. Thank you.
Yep, you too.
Thank you.
All right. We have a presentation up next, Cascades West Council of Governments Annual Report. Ryan, you're here. Excellent. In person, live. How about that?
This presentation is also in your packet.
Oh, very good. So we'll go peel off to that.
It's more of a
Halfway through.
chat than a presentation.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you so much for having me again today. My name is Ryan Vogt. I'm the Executive Director for Oregon Cascades West Council of Governments. I shed a title because the last time I was here, I was also the Interim Community and Economic Development Director, and I'm thrilled to say that position has finally been filled. That was a delightful tenure. And I tried to bring our new Community and Economic Development Director with me today, but she's battling a cold, and I figured best
really?
she get well and not spread it to anybody. So
Right.
I will bring her next time. Her name is Jacqueline Disney. I believe Steve may have already met her, but we'll work from there.
Okay.
So in your packet is our annual report. 2023. So the data is not fresh anymore because here we are in late September, but it is less about, the annual report is less about the individual numbers. It's more about the Cascades West Council of Governments does a lot of things, and our footprint is pretty varied. 3/4 of our staff are dedicated to seniors and people with disabilities, but we do a variety of community service programs, and we do community and economic development, as I've already mentioned. And so this is my way of trying to give you a little bit of a sense of what it looks like for our workers in your backyard. So I wasn't intending to go over the report itself. I am open for any questions there, but given that it's a little bit out of date, I brought a couple of new things to talk about today, and I'll try not to take your agenda too long. You can give me the hook if need be. I'm always happy to move along. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is you'll see on here that there's a small footprint for Meals on Wheels. Last time we talked about 11 consumers being met. I will say that the year before that, I believe it was 0. And it was through conversation with the mayor and with the city manager and with some of the citizens here that we started talking about how do we get our Meals on Wheels program down here for the days that your local community is not already providing meals. And there's a little bit of a differentiation in terms of eligibility, but the thrust was there to try and make sure that we are down here helping to provide those services for people who have food instability. So 2023, we're at 11 people by the end of the year. We're now at 15 people. So it is growing. We're getting a little bit more penetration. I think there's probably an opportunity for me to partner with Steve and see if we can get a little bit more marketing out, because I highly doubt that 15 is the sum total of the people within the community who would be eligible. Does not mean that people who are eligible wish to participate, but I do want to make sure that everybody who is eligible to receive services gets the right to make that conscious decision, be educated about what it may be and whether or not they wish to do it. I also wanted to, on the back of this is a picture of one of our veteran services officers, Mark Lipinskis, and he comes down here once a month to meet with veterans as part of our outreach efforts. He's also, if you have not met him in person, he's pretty incredible. And during his outreach events here in the city of Monroe, he's engaged with 11 separate veterans over the last couple of years. And this is a way for veterans or their families or their spouses or their surviving family members or their foster children, if they had them, or adopted children, if they had them, to pursue some of the benefits that are due the veteran for their time served that generally led to a disability or what have you. Mark is talented and he's a go-getter and he really dogs things. And this last year, there were some changes at the federal level that began to re-qualify some people who were exposed to chemicals that had previously been disqualified. And he went back through all of the files for which there had been a claim in Benton County that looked like it might be associated with that, and went back out to all of those people or their spouses, surviving spouses, to see whether or not there was new eligibility. In one of those instances, there was somebody who had been kind of summarily denied a number of years ago. The veteran had since passed away, was able to find the surviving spouse who's battling her own cancer right now and was really in turmoil. And in 3 days was able to get re-eligibility done, get back pay benefits installed, was able to alleviate all of her concerns about how she was going to get her own medical care at that point, and got a pretty substantial financial settlement to make sure she was able to get her estate in order as well. So it was a pretty big tipping point. He really is pretty fantastic. I hope if you haven't met him, I hope you take a chance to swing by when he's there. Last time I was here, I also talked about my desire from having been in the community and been in a number of our communities to try and raise some support for small communities to write and administer grants. And I was made a commitment to build that program, not really knowing what I was getting into, but I was the community and economic development director at the time. So with an interim hat on, you can make all kinds of promises. So we have since been able to get our first grant writer on board. Her name is Susan, and she has already met with Steve. And she is an absolute go-getter. She came on board, and within the first 3 weeks of coming on board, she wrote a Safe Streets for All grant for Len County and a Safe Streets for All grant for Lincoln County. I know that she's been out here helping with the pre-application for your ODOT Oregon Community Paths application. I think, I don't know if the terminology is right, but to add the pedestrian bridge over the Long Tom and the little bit of the pathway there. So that the pre-application starts to pave the way for up to $4 million of funds to try and help complete that project. And so she's working there on that.
Nice.
But more to come as far as that's concerned. And then the only other kind of big news that I have to share, this is semi hot off the press, although it's been lingering for a couple of months here, is that you all are probably very familiar with our sister agency, the Community Action Agency. In here, it's Community Services Consortium, and they deal with predominantly low-income individuals. They do lots of housing work, energy and weatherization work, things of that nature. Well, when I was hired, sneaking up on 5 years ago, at the time, there was quite a discussion about whether or not the two organizations should stay as two separate organizations or should in some way be more closely aligned. At the time, there really wasn't time to put considered effort into the alignment work. And so myself and my counterpart, the executive director, Peggy McGuire, we have been working on what are the ways that we can try and realize that vision without complicating things too much. And what that's looked like is a number of shared administrative efficiencies across both organizations, particularly in these last 2 years. So in the last year, the Council of Governments is providing the Human Resources Department for both agencies. We're also providing the Tech Services Department for both agencies. The Community Services Consortium is about to provide the Communications Department for both organizations. And in the last 2 months, because my counterpart, Peggy, has announced her retirement, the two boards have unanimously voted to move forward with a single executive director over both organizations. So that is one more administrative efficiency that creates vision and alignment between the two agencies. Now, unfortunately, that's where my narrative ends. So they've made the decision to do that, but what does that look like? How's it going to happen? Who's it going to be? How are they going to recruit for it? There's a whole lot of sausage still being made behind the scenes.
Really to say congratulations on your promotion.
I will take the congratulations for no longer being the CED interim director. If I didn't share that, I'm feeling very relieved about that. There was a point in time where I realized I'd been in this job for 4 years and I had been the interim CED director for 26 months. So I came on without one, and then I had a short stint with one, and then I had 14 months without one. So yeah, too early on that front. But what that does mean going forward is you may still see me, you may see somebody else, you may see me with somebody else. We'll figure that out. But
combinations, all right,
or any combination. I love being out here, so I will do my best to arm wrestle whoever it is to make sure I'm out here one way or the other. So, and with that, I think I've droned on long enough, unless there's questions.
Thank you for coming down and providing a presentation. That's great to hear that Meals on Wheels is growing. And I didn't know about the Benton County Veteran Services Office. That's incredible that that woman got help and then owed back pay, essentially.
Yeah. Thank you,
That's
Counselor.
great.
I appreciate that. The model of outreach, this is a sneak peek. I'll make a sneak peek. I have a desire, and I'm talking to my program directors about how can we mature this model for all of our programs.
Yeah.
What would it take for us to have an eligibility worker out here, even though eligibility can be done on the phone for people who are applying for food stamps or for medical, that can be done on the phone. They don't have to do it in person anymore. But what's the harm? Could we do it? Could we find a way to squat in City Hall one day a month or here at the community center or wherever, try to find some vacant space where if somebody felt more comfortable talking face to face with somebody.
Yes.
So if next year that's not happening, you can hold me accountable to that.
Okay.
Great.
I'll
Thank you.
put you on the list.
Unless it's somebody else here in my staff. Then I'll hold them accountable. Any other questions?
Anybody? Counselor Rich, did you have anything? Nope. Okay.
All right.
Ryan, as always, thank you
for
for
the
being
update.
here.
Thank you much. I appreciate it, Mayor. Thank you, counselors.
Right. What we got going on next? All right. Our city administrators report.
Well, I will start with Mark Lipinski. He is of course, one of my favorites because he is also a United States Coast Guard veteran. He's also helped our own Mark with significantly and very successful with that. So He's genuinely a nice person and incredibly helpful all the way around. It's always fun coming in here just saying hi, but usually he now has kind of a full deck when we walk into the room. So that's really great. The second part is that as Ryan alluded to, Susan Pattison has been working with me on the pedestrian bridge grant. That has been completed and the preliminary has been submitted and accepted by ODOT. They will be reviewing these grants over the next month or so. And in November, we get a statement saying your preliminary grant works, now submit the real grant. Then we have until, I think, February to basically take the same thing we did and then regurgitate it into the official form. And then sometime in June or July, we will get a result back after they do that. This is essentially a $3.2 million grant. $320,000 of it will be our responsibility, which the intent is to use SDC fees for that. The reason why we can use SDC fees is because we're including with this both sewer and water capability, which matches our master plans. So we're able to use SDCs for that function.
Yeah, may I ask a question about that,
Yes.
Steve? What do we have in our SDC bank? And I'm sure there will be more with the developments that will be
We have a
popping up in the
little
next
over
5 years.
$1 million
That's wonderful.
total.
Great.
And as each development gets in place, we receive at the moment $20,038 for every unit that gets built, a new structure. A little less if the structure is already built, but they need water and sewer, so they have to pay into the water and sewer SDCs at a minimum.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, the 26 homes that are being planned at the PND, all these different homes that are being planned, if we have 100 homes, well, that's 100 times $20,000. We have not reviewed that since we put it in place. That seems like ages ago, but a few years ago, we're required to, we're supposed to review it annually. Right now, our SDCs are about still in the middle of everyone
Right.
else's, which is what we intended.
They were
but-
16,000 each or something.
17,000.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 17,000 and then we moved it up to 17,500 and something, and then we moved it to 20,038.
Got it.
And that was based solely on our master plans. So those master plans, the numbers in those need to be updated because we all know that the construction costs over the last 3 years, 20 to 30%. So our costs have increased dramatically just in the last few years. So, but anyway, that's how we get our SDCs, and we can utilize those for capacity related issues. So in the case of going across the river, we're required to meet capacity. We need to increase a 6-inch force main, as they call it, to an 8-inch. So right now, everything in Monroe is going through a pipe about that big around. And we need to make it a little bit larger, which intuitively makes sense, but that's the reason why we can utilize that. I spent a hour of my time last week with the LOC over speed cameras. The legislature approved those earlier this year, and so there was discussion. So we had several police departments online telling us their experiences with it. They absolutely do catch people, and they absolutely do send the tickets in. However, the cost of that is great. One city, $600,000 for the cost of the cameras and processing it through the vendor that does it. And after courts and people, after the court system gets done with it, they receive $75,000. So the criticism in the paper was, you're spending so the tag on the newspaper article was the price of safety. In other words, you're spending $500,000 on the cameras. So it was rather interesting, but they certainly are out there and available. And the legislature, now the LOC is trying to make some changes to that. So there's some unintended pieces, but that is something that any town now in the state can consider. They certainly do bring in citations.
What about those simple signs that have the flashing speed? There's
Sure.
like the one at Mary's River
Oh, and Corvallis at the
Yeah,
various intersections and
they don't
coming
have
around the
cameras,
corner.
but,
Yeah,
I
they
mean-
have a flashing thing. So
To remind you.
I just wanted to just report that I did, and the
Mhm.
idea was that, yes, they do work, they do cost. So that was kind of the
Yeah.
the takeaway with that.
I'm looking at the cheaper
cost.
alternative.
Yeah. I think it was Tigard. Now, Tigard's not Monroe, but they had like 4,000 tickets. I mean, just processing that into the system. I mean, just it literally, I think nearly tripled their amount of citations. But again, you have to process them. They have to be vetted. The people, a lot of them get thrown out. Some of them will get challenged. A lot of them will get challenged.
A lot of collection costs.
And a lot of collection costs. And so it adds up. And that was kind of the takeaway from listening to it. It was very interesting. But we've talked about cameras and things, so I thought I'd pass that on.
Thank you.
I am in conversation currently with our friends, the DEQ. They want me to submit a TMDL, and I think I've talked about this in the past. We're overdue for submitting our TMDL, and I told them that in good faith, without having some clarity on this, I cannot sign off on it. I cannot submit it. So then, of course, the hammers want to come out, but at the moment, we're going to have a nice sit-down chat on the 15th and go over the whole thing.
This is for the water
And
quality?
they approached us on that. I didn't approach them. So the mayor is aware of the last letter I sent.
Yes.
But basically, if all the paperwork that I fill out, there's always forms, you need to, like the grant, you need to do this, this, and this.
Mhm.
Please, now, if you say yes, please attach this and this. Here's the format we wanted in.
Mhm.
None of that happened.
Right.
It's basically, we submitted this spreadsheet and then it's not right. Well, what isn't right? No explanation. Well, verbally, nothing ever in writing, nothing ever came back to me in writing. It was just verbal. Well, we want you to change this. So I said, okay, took notes. We had it submitted back. Sorry, you're just not following what I want. Well, please explain it in writing. Nothing. So we're going to work this out with their director, the individual, and all that. I mean, I have it. It's not an issue submitting it. I just want to do it in good faith so that we're being represented the way
Right.
we're supposed to be. And so anyway, that's another one of those.
So is the city of Monroe the only one that gets picked
No.
on by DEQ?
No, this is a huge issue. And I will also say this is an issue with this one particular individual.
Okay, got it.
So we're just going to work through it.
Okay,
But I just wanted to report to you that
okay.
It's in process.
it's still in process.
Is the format that they're requesting different from how it's been submitted in past years?
Not at all. And that's
The same thing that you've been doing, and
I'm
this
just
time they're-
updating, I'm just
okay.
updating the column as to what we did in the past year.
Huh,
This is very bizarre.
yeah, interesting.
And it's no different than the format that we did for the natural hazards mitigation. It's the same required spreadsheet and format that the federal government requires. There's no difference. So we'll work it out and I will report back.
Thank you.
Anyway, so last 2 weeks, Mark has been gone and he is now back. Yay.
He's
I gave him this morning, first thing was, here's the phone. Dawn is off, so that's done. Dawn is off next week. So
Right.
I will be in the office. I will be trading my Public Works hat for my office
Admin.
hat and taking payments and managing the front end. We do have an SOP, so we'll see if it works. Then she and I will be going through that tomorrow. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week, I intend on being home. Although I will be in contact with staff because I have to watch the records and the logs and in case someone needs something. But otherwise, I'm going to try and get a few things done before the rainy season sets in and just get a little bit of time. Last, but certainly not least, I sent you all an email last night. I think it was last night. Time gets away. So formally, I will read basically what I said here, and it's very small, so I apologize if I missed something here. So what I said was essentially at the end of my report today, which is now, and although I am not setting any date or time to this, I'm announcing my intent to transition from public service into retirement. I've spent the last 47 years serving the public sector in one form or another, and it's time for this chapter to wind down. Simply, over the last 6 years, I've had very little time off from my responsibilities in Monroe, just because there is very little time off from these responsibilities. And at this point in my life, I need to spend more time with my wife and my family. It is of interest that 6 years ago tonight, at the council meeting, what was held over there, the former public works superintendent quit and walked off after delivering his report to council.
I remember, I was there.
I was going to give a IT presentation and the room was silent. This goes, well, who's going to make the water? That was me. A few days later, I got a call from the city administrator and I just for a few months, he said 3 months.
Oh.
And that's how I got started. So while that was dramatic, I have no intention of leaving the city without the projects that are started substantially in hand and suitable people in place to handle it. That's why there's no time. It's just simply we start the process. This includes the water plant, and of the many issues facing Monroe, I believe the biggest is the inability to attract qualified people that can understand and manage, not operate, manage a complex system. This is on top of paying for a city administrator, planning services for the new developments, a new city hall, and the library should the city choose to keep possession of it. My suggestion is to start with the HR and Finance Committee, and the mayor suggested we start immediately tomorrow evening.
Yes.
And get a sense of the transition period and prioritize the needs of the city. As I have mentioned, I wear many hats, and that expertise will need to be found or passed off to new staff or contracting out. Sincerely, I am truly thankful for the opportunity to serve Monroe and its citizens. The last 4.5 years has been a journey for sure, but I believe well worth the effort. As I am, the city of Monroe is also in the process of transitioning, and I'm honored to be part of your efforts to move the city into the future.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Yes,
Thank you
so
for
much.
advocating for the city of Monroe, even though you live in Corvallis. You've gone to bat for us for a long time.
Well,
So thank you.
professionally, that's my job. And, that's something that I am very, my ethics are very strong in that area. Unfortunately, that's, someone says, well, why don't you run for something? Well, the problem is that I see the world with less gray than others might. And I think that serves the folks that I have worked with very well. I'm very loyal to the people that support me, and you have all been very loyal and have supported not just myself, but I want to say you've supported me. You've supported the efforts of the city to move the city forward. And we've worked together on that. And that's special. You don't often find that in any organization. So we will, so at this point, we just simply start moving forward and we'll make the transition. We'll find the resources and we'll make sure that Monroe continues moving in the direction that it has been, because you folks have been remarkable.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for
Welcome.
all
No,
that
thank
you've
you.
done for the city of Monroe, Steve. It's greatly appreciated.
Well, thank you. And we'll continue and make it even better and make sure that it's in good hands as we move ahead.
Agreed.
So the challenge is to make that a 24-month process.
I like I said,
Take your portion.
I have absolutely no timeline. I'm in a very fortunate place that I don't need one. After this, it's rock hounding and doing other things. But, for the moment, I'm very happy continuing the work. It's hard at times.
Yeah.
I have friends like the DEQ to work with. But still the challenge is, regardless, they still want the best too. I mean, they just,
Right.
we just have to come to agreement And that's what I found in all of the things I've done is that maybe we don't always see the same thing at front, but behind it all, we're all after the same goal.
Yeah.
I've never, in this last 4.5 years, seen anything that was other than good intentions and trying to do the right thing. And that's why I stick around.
It's very sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's my report. And I'm still here, like you said at the desk.
Not walking out the door yet.
Nope.
You
I'll
gotta
walk-
tackle them if you.
No, walk it
Yeah,
out.
I'll walk it. We're all stuck in here for a while, guys. Sorry.
All right, with that, let's move to the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. If any item involves a potential conflict of interest, council members should so note before adoption of the consent agenda. A motion to accept the consent agenda is appropriate.
I will add that we did find a invoice for $72. It's a routine quarterly invoice for professional security alarm, and Dawn added it.
Okay.
So we have a check
Okay, very
there
good.
for you, but that's the reason why this is
why
separate.
it's
is simply
separated out.
because It didn't
Gotcha.
make the AP at the time that I processed it.
That's fine.
Sorry.
I highlighted it at home and didn't bring it. But I didn't have any questions. It was just, I just wanted to double check. Never know what you miss.
Oh, sorry. I make a motion to accept the consent agenda, minutes and pay the bills.
Oh, second.
We have a first and we have a second. Comments, questions?
The only question I have is, we are presuming that this is added to it. We don't have.
That
to
is correct. Yes, the $72 has been added because we cut a check for
What
it.
I mean is we don't have to specify it outright.
No,
Okay, good.
no, it just was I just wanted to make sure instead of rerunning the AP,
Yeah, you bet.
since you've already seen it, had a chance to look at it, just give it to you separately.
I'll give you guys a couple more minutes, but if you don't have any comments or questions, feel free to let me know and we'll vote.
I don't have any comments or questions.
I don't
Okay.
either.
I'm good.
Okay. Counselor Myers?
Yes.
We aren't voting yet.
Oh, man.
Just,
I was ready to vote.
I can tell. Just show them the road. Okay, I guess we're ready to vote. I'm getting that sense. All right, we're voting. Counselor Myers,
Yes.
Counselor Cuthbertson.
Yes.
Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Counselor Linder.
Yes.
Counselor Rich.
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry,
thank you. No, you're fine.
I couldn't find the unmute.
That's okay. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to new business. Resolution 2024-16, a resolution to approve the 1135 grant project agreement with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. All right. Just gotta find it.
Yeah.
It's in here. I know it is.
Just quick background, these documents
There
have
it is.
been vetted by our attorney.
Okay.
The Corps of Engineers document, the question that I had was to ensure that the gateways that were described by Mr. Elliott Porter were in fact in there, and the attorney highlighted them and assured us that those gateways were in fact. As I pointed out, the Corps of Engineers agreement in and of itself, just it alone, does not guarantee that any cost overruns would not be the responsibility of the city of Monroe. The Long Tom Watershed Agreement, which is the second resolution, does minimize that risk because they agreed to pay for any cost overruns. They agreed to pay for the water intake. They agreed to indemnify the city, all those things. There is a suggested amendment that you are going to approve with that when we get to it, that adds, but the lawyer feels that with that addition, this is as about as solid as you're going to get for a construction project of this magnitude, I guess. At terms of lowest risk to the city, not risk-free,
Right.
but the lowest risk. And our attorney has said,
Thank you for running it past the attorney.
Oh,
Yes.
that
Thank
was
you.
a big one.
so Lori did have a chance, and we did have some back and forth a little bit on it.
Mhm.
So I'm comfortable that the attorney has reviewed and has addressed the concerns.
All right.
And with
Comments?
this, this would just move it forward basically into the design phase, correct?
Correct. The next phase is design, and then at the end of that, there's a gateway, okay,
Mhm.
another gateway into the construction phase. So the first year between right now and September 30th, which is the end of the fiscal year, the federal fiscal year, the documents get signed. Then October 1st through September 30th of next year is the design phase. And this is where things such as the bridge scour engineering will be done and presented to ODOT to make sure that it meets their specifications. This is the habitat restoration pieces, the culverts, all of that, what will happen after the dam is actually removed and you have the sediment in there. All of that will be addressed in that particular phase. Then there'll be a stopping point where everyone takes a deep breath and looks at, based upon what the design phase says, what will that mean going forward? And as we have heard, there's also ways to schedule certain things so that the primary activities might get done, but if the money looks a little sketchy, like we may run out because of that, for instance, we may not do a culvert or something else that, that they will break out of that. So there's some options for the partners to look at and decide how to maximize the time and the money. The main part is removal of that drop structure, which is, Mark, of course, hopes it's gonna be blown up, like the whale on Wallport, but
Yeah, well.
the imagery isn't good on that one. But we will find out during the design phase what that means and how that will go forward. So we have a whole year, and there's gonna be a lot of discussion. The Long Tom Watershed Council, which is here this evening to listen in, will also be heavily involved in partnering, making sure all this runs smoothly in the way it's supposed to be. So that's the next year.
I would like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2024-16.
And I'll second.
Sorry, did you want to ask if we have more comments or questions?
No, I
kinda
will
jumped the
now,
gun
though.
there. Okay, sorry. I feel like I.
Okay, any other
Off the head.
comments, questions?
Mm.
Counselor Cuthbertson, do you have any questions? No? Okay. Counselor Rich, do you have any questions?
No, I just, I guess I was looking at I know there's this one and then there's the MOU.
Yeah, that follows this one. Yeah.
But I know that now we have a first and second, we will need
Yep.
to vote. I just didn't know if we want to review the MOU before because
Yeah.
they kind of go hand in
Okay.
hand.
That's a good point.
We can do that. And we can circle back. That's fine.
Is the MOU attachment A?
No, it's
It's
the,
the next resolution, but it also has
yeah,
the,
it's a separate resolution. So it just goes through
the
the packet a
understanding
little bit.
between us and Long Tom Watershed Council, because basically
Yep.
Long Tom Watershed Council is the one that has got the funding for all this.
Right.
And then, but basically because the project is between us, like we're the go-between between us and the Army Corps of Engineers. And not between Army Corps of Engineers and the Long Tom Watershed Council. Basically the the MOU with them is going to be pertinent to, us agreeing to signing the Army
Mhm.
Corps engineer agreement
Yeah.
because they're the ones that are providing the funding and
Yep.
so that was the only reason why I brought that up.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. Thank you. They should be reviewed in tandem.
Any comments or questions on resolution 2024-17? This is the MOU with Long Tom Watershed Council.
Are we gonna vote for them at the same time?
No, we'll circle back to 16. We'll vote on it, then we'll come back
I
to
was just wondering why
17.
you're asking for questions.
I'm here to entertain, okay? Your MC for this evening.
It's okay. I'm trying to figure out procedurally, but because we have a motion on the table.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
yeah.
we have a motion on the
Motion?
table. So do we table the motion,
And then discuss.
and then discuss 17 and then come back?
I can rescind my motion and we can discuss 17 if that's easiest.
It'd probably be easier either if you rescind it and then say, can we introduce the second one? Otherwise,
Can do
we'll
that.
probably need to vote and then, or table it, have another motion to table
I
it.
rescind. Just make it easy.
I rescind the second.
And so
We'll
then,
be back.
so
We're
then it's
back.
up to the mayor then, as the head of our council then to decide what to do next.
All right, we've rescinded on resolution 2024-16. Shall we move on to resolution 2024-17?
Yes.
Talk about that now?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
basically wanted to review that one before we
Okay.
sign off on the.
Okay, and this is where I'm, all right,
All right.
here we are.
Round 17.
Welcome.
Welcome to 17.
Oh, guys are funny tonight. All that excitement and no comment?
I'm still reading the exact
Yeah.
verbiage to make sure it's,
Okay, all right.
I like
Don't
the overall
worry.
concept. Just want to make sure the language works.
Don't worry.
The,
Fine.
right behind the resolution, is on the back page of the resolution, there's a revision that you would be, that would be
Ah,
included.
It's
This
highlighted
revision
here.
has also
Gotcha.
been sent to the Long Tom Watershed Council, who indicates that this is not an issue,
Okay.
but it will be tomorrow before they can sign their portion of it.
Okay.
But we can certainly,
Review
with that
it, yeah.
understanding that you're passing this with this highlighted revision, this is from our
Right.
attorney.
And Jed, you can confirm, sorry, Jed, you can confirm that the Long Tom Watershed Council is fine with that new verbiage. Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. When we do vote on this on 17, do we need to specify with the included verbiage or is it just assumed it's built into?
The way I put it down here is, you will resolve to authorize and adopt the memorandum of understanding as amended.
Okay.
Amended.
As
I added
amended.
that.
That's- There you go.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Okay,
Well, I'm not going to remember to say all that. So I would like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2024-16 and somebody can take the second one because it's more complicated.
Okay,
Or 16 or 17?
16, because we still have to vote on 16, right?
Oh, okay, so we're gonna go back to 16 now?
Sorry,
Hurry
did
up,
I mess it
whiplash,
up?
man.
This is gonna make one heck of a set of minutes.
So,
Okay.
I think I just had a concern on the MOU about, I mean, basically it seems like the further we get down the line, if we do decide to back out, that there are I mean, obviously the financial consequences are going to get bigger and bigger because it has that if we do withdraw before completion of the project, that we may have to repay funds to Longtime Watershed Council or you know grant funds that they've used thus far in the project. I get that's my only concern, is that does create an additional, or that creates, the liability gets bigger if we decide not to move forward after design phase, because there are these gates, but if for whatever reason it turned out that it was not going to be beneficial to do this, then it gets harder to stop.
Right. Is that something that one of you would be able to speak to, Jed or John, about like what happens? Would we be on the hook to repay those funds?
Yeah. Just
In 8.2,
A2, it says that.
yeah.
Yeah, so, you want me to come up to the mic?
Wait, if you could, Jed, that'd be great.
So I'm just gonna try to read it here and just make sure I speak accurately real quickly. So the in section 8.2, the first section that you guys are referring to, I assume, is where it says if the city terminates this agreement, the city will pay back to Longtime Watershed Council the O&M funding that the Watershed Council provided to the city. That's the $50,000 that we agreed to pay for unforeseen, issues that you have to take care of with the new water intake specifically. So that refers to that. And I think where we talk about the schedule for payment for that, we agree to pay it in 3 installments, some of it upon signature of the MOU. And then I think there's 2 other milestones.
Completion of the project
Yeah.
and then execution of construction.
Yep, exactly. So that money would be paid back to us if the city withdraws from the agreement and the project's not going to happen. That's what that refers to. And then let's see. If the city withdraws from the project after Longtime Watershed Council grant funds have been dispersed and spent by the Corps, because we'll be basically cutting a check to the Army Corps on the city's behalf, is how we have it set up at this point. Let's see. The Watershed Council may be responsible for reimbursing the funder that awarded those funds to the Watershed Council. So if we have to repay those funds due to actions of the city that causes the project to terminate before its completion, that's when the city would have to reimburse the Watershed Council. That's how we have that written. So that would be, there's a lot of ifs there. So that would be if the grantor required us to pay them back. Like, let's say we get through the design process and the city's not comfortable moving forward. If we have already spent some of those grant funds as part of the cost share requirement for the design process, the grantor, may or may not require us to repay those. I'm not sure. We've never been in that situation before. That's where that clause is. That's why that's in there, to protect us in case we've already spent funds and then we are required to repay those. We wouldn't have a means to do that if those funds are already gone, and used by the Corps. So that's why we included that.
And my understanding from Elliot Porter is, and there are ifs involved, it all depends on how much the design phase costs, and a design phase costs less than what the government is putting forward, then there probably would not be a request to put any additional money. But let's say, I'm just going to use round numbers here. Let's say $100,000. We pay $250,000, which is part of the grant. They pay $750,000. let's say the design phase costs $750,000 covered. If it's more than that, if it's goes into our cost share, the government will probably ask us to pay that portion back. And again, that's up to the government, not necessarily up to us or up to the Long-Term Watershed Council. They're the ones that are in their agreement are the final arbiters of what gets paid back and what doesn't.
And then we have separate grant agreements with like the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. That's the main funder of the cost share funds at this point. So.
Okay.
I think this is if the city backs out, kind of a
Mhm.
reckless manner.
Like a cold feet.
If you're at a checkpoint and bids come in way higher, that would kick in grant groups, issues or not. But this is it's more of a clause or
Mhm.
use reckless behavior. But if you get to that checkpoint, these checkpoints offer a way to protect. Something else that comes up, it's more of that clause touches that.
And I would say, speaking to the grantors that we have the relationship with, if we went through this design exercise as a group and, you know, it was clear that there was a serious flaw with the plan that the Corps came up with, we would, you know, go to bat to, with our grantors to say, hey, everybody made a good faith effort here to make this work. And there was an unforeseen, you know, whatever, some issue comes up, that the construction cost is going to be twice as much as we all anticipated. And at that point, if the council feels like we can't, you know, raise those funds, you know, it could be a mutual, like, hey, just isn't going to work. And I think that the grantors would, you know, yeah, and that would not be due to reckless behavior, like John said, you know. So I think that's where we wanted to protect ourselves. If, you know, we were, you know, working through this design process in good faith with everybody, and for some reason the city decided to, out of the blue, you know, decide not to pursue the project, even though it's still, you know, within the same spirit of what we've all talked about over the last few years. That's why we wanted to have a little bit of protection, because we, you know, we're a relatively small nonprofit with not a lot of resources to be able to pay back a grantor if we needed to do that.
Right.
The O&M funds that we're providing are a big step for us. We've never done anything like this, but we feel comfortable moving forward as we have it specified.
I think the language makes sense. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for an agency, let's say not Long-Term Watershed Council, but an agency to pay out money to provide a service or to, you know, like it's like, if you guys are out money without getting what you expected in return, that wouldn't be fair to you.
Yeah.
So I understand you're covering your bases. And this is also, as you've said, if for whatever reason the city backs out beyond a checkpoint, it kind of like we got cold feet and we were just like, oh, we changed our mind mid-project. I mean, I think the language makes sense. I think there are a lot of ifs in there. Those are my 2 cents. I am not opposed to the language, and I support that language personally.
And I think there was similar language in the previous MOU that we had, and that's why I just rolled that into this one.
And there was, I can
Okay.
confirm, I was
Yeah.
reading that, and there was.
It's more of a protection that, like, if we had turnover here,
Mhm.
and I've seen this happen before in Monroe, where you all of a sudden you get 50% new counselors here,
Mm.
and they're all, you know, stonewalling,
Mhm.
and they pretty much shut it down. That would kick that clause in,
Got it.
in my opinion.
Yeah, and I am not opposed to it at all. I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention and make sure we all understood, you know, any consequences of
And it's only for 50,000.
moving forward. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, only that.
Only, it's not 250 or 750,000.
Totally.
Thank you, Counselor Rich. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Like, at least for me, I understand what you're saying. For me, I just get really nervous. This is a really big thing. And if it's a huge screw up, it could really, I mean, that would really impact our town. We may not even have a city. We may not even have anything because it could bankrupt us and we would not have water.
I don't think the Army Corps of Engineers would allow, I mean, if they messed up somehow, like that's on the federal government. That's a big problem for them to fix when we pay for,
Consider a mess up because we've been asked to get other sources of water.
I mean, they're engineers. If they're
We've
messing up
been-
in an engineering project, that's.
Okay, they are engineers. I get what you're saying. However, Red Hills flooding.
They're
we
developers. They're
had
just in it to make a buck.
engineers- No, we had engineers and
Yeah.
it didn't get checked.
Hmm.
So things can go wrong. So I'm just saying it's a lot of money and our water
Mhm.
that we're toying with.
Mhm.
And so that's really scary. And by your own admission, you just said that you're a really small group having to go to grantors and ask for a lot of money. You know,
Yeah. and I
I'm
would-
not
yeah,
saying you can't do it. I'm just saying
And
there's gates, there's different things, but nothing's hard and fast in this. So we need to really be thinking about that as we're moving forward, because this could be hugely impactful to our community and it could be really not a positive thing.
Yeah.
It could be. I mean, that's the potential, right? But it is also our job to mitigate the risks to an acceptable level. We cannot move forward without assuming some risk. That's life.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And we
And then the
have
other
to,
alternative that the Army Corps of Engineer can just come in, and take it out without everything else
Right.
being done. Because they are taking dams out that way.
Yeah.
and I would just
And
reiterate.
they have that control over that whole thing.
yeah. And so I think those gates, working in the fields that I do, this is not uncommon. And we can stop if we aren't seeing progress or metrics being made at a certain gate to move into the next stage.
Mhm.
That's what I want to have control over. That's very important to me, because as long as we can see, the learnings from where we've been, how we can apply those moving forward, that's going to be very impactful to the direction and whether or not the city of Monroe pulls out, right?
Mhm.
But that wouldn't be because we couldn't get our act together. That would be because there is definitely
There's something
something
wrong.
right.
Yeah.
And so this gives me more optimism for this project, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
So,
Having
Confident with
those
it.
gates.
oh, absolutely.
Jen, what
Yeah.
were you gonna say?
Yeah, a couple of things. See if I can remember them all. I think this year of design, the design part of the process is going to be really important for you guys to, stay involved as much as you can, and whether that's through the subcommittee that you have created and or more involvement in that. Because I think the Army Corps is, they want to do a site visit on Wednesday. They're wanting to get moving on this, and I think they're already indicating that they're open to, like, they want to have the engineering group that we've been working with to bring in some outside expertise. So there's opportunities to provide a lot of feedback, and the design phase is I can't remember the exact cost, but it's relatively small compared to the construction. And just to go back to the funding, I wanted to clarify that we do have the funds secured in grant agreements for the water intake. And this is all spelled out in the MOU. I think we have about $710,000 for the water intake that's, already been granted and signed by the state, signed by our board of directors. We have a grant from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for $740,000. That's the one that's going to cover the bulk of the cost share for the Army Corps project. So we have those funds in hand. It's not like we're still scrambling to get those together. If we didn't have those in hand, I would not be comfortable, pushing this MOU forward with you guys. So we have those funds ready to pay to the Corps on behalf of the city and as well as the water intake. So we're on a good path. We do need to raise a little bit more funds for the cost share. We don't have all that yet, but we have more than enough to cover the cost share portion for the design phase, and then probably 2/3 of construction even. So we have a great head start, and construction wouldn't be until summer of 26. So plenty of time to get that last chunk of funding. And the final thing I wanted to say was, I know you had requested examples of other projects, Councilor Cuthbertson. John and I have been working on that. I spoke with the city of Yakima that has been doing a similar project. They completed it last year. We've got a summary of my conversation with them and some information that we'll hand out. We're working on compiling a list of other examples too. And I'm committed to calling every one of those project sponsors and just look like talking about lessons learned, and how to make this as good as possible. Cause I know the stakes are high. I understand your guys' concerns and
And it would be nice to be able to hear both sides. I mean, it's great. And some of them probably haven't had perfect success.
Yep.
And I'm not looking for perfect
Mhm.
success. I just want to see that we're looking at all the information.
Yep.
So that you can learn from, because nobody that does something for the first time or sometimes even the 10th time,
Mhm.
it goes perfect,
Yep.
right? So it's just a matter of making sure that there's a lot of
Yep.
information.
And it's a relatively new field, I'm not going to lie. It's not like, people have been taking dams out for a really long time. It's over just the last couple decades. So
Right.
you're right to have those concerns.
Come on up, John.
So this project is actually 6 years old, so I don't think that's moving too fast. Personally.
Yep.
And the questions raised are really important questions, which is why for the past 6 years, we've really spent a lot of time going through those, like the cost share, the water intake system, slowly making sure all these things were addressed carefully. We've been trying to share those as much as possible. And we've been in front of this council and other councils now over the last 6 years, sharing as much information as we can. We've looked at a lot of different examples in Iowa, the outcomes, like the start, what happened, what's the outcome, just to make sure. This in Iowa, in 2016, they had 13 dams removed, and it shows a before and after. This project now has 30 dams removed in Iowa. So we've reached out to those the people who are kind of managing this in Iowa to find out what's happening since 13 to 30, how the project's going. And then, so we've worked really hard to understand the potential dangers. We've worked really hard to address the concerns that have come up. And one thing that a number of the people in the advisory committee have been saying is we have to look at the impact of not moving forward at this point. What they say in Iowa here over and over is that dams have failed and then they have to come in and clean them up. There's an economic development component that was built into the Riverside District Master Plan that very clearly talked about river renewal as a key to economic development for this town. So that the lack of action has to be measured. The impact of lack of action has to be measured against the potential of uncertainty. Minimize the uncertainty as much as possible, and then make sure you don't lose sight of the potential value to the community that is gained by a project like this. And we have 30 examples just in Iowa of that being a very positive opportunity for these communities. So I just want, 6 years has been a long time. And by the way, you're too late to retire now because I've already got all the rocks on the Ocho Coast.
Oh, man.
That's a challenge.
Yeah.
You just woke me up.
You're about 5 years too late. But anyway, I want to highlight the positive side of this.
Yeah.
Knowing the concerns, spend a lot of time looking at those concerns, trying to eliminate those or minimize those as much as possible. I would think that the Longtown Watershed Council, not only the cost share, but they also provided expertise and support in this project and will continue to do that and working with the engineers and validating a lot of these questions. They actually are much higher risk of cost overruns than the city is because they have agreed to try to meet those costs and raise the money if they have to. So I really appreciate the fact that they're taking on that challenge and are here to make this all possible.
Yeah. Thank you, Longtown Watershed Council.
And real quick, we had the question about the design phase. They're looking at about 500, they've an estimate of a little over 500,000 for the design phase. That's over the next year. And so that the non-federal cost share part would be 134,000 over the next year. Just to give a ballpark for the design phase. And then you hit those, start hitting those blocks again, or those checks. Yeah, so again, any questions that people have or anything that we feel like not answered, please let us know. And we'll dig into that as much as we can.
The lawyer pointed out several things when her initial memo to me, and this is on page 6 of 11 of the MOU about the funding piece. And so I think it's worth reading since we're talking about issues, problems, and risks. Since I'm on the second start of the sentence, second sentence from the top. Since the current cost estimate includes a significant amount for contingency, which it does, that everyone's including a huge amount of contingency nowadays, the likelihood of cost overruns are low, but any cost overruns charged to the project by the Army Corps of Engineers will be paid for by the Long Tom Watershed Council. As long as they're not to the actions of the city, which we've already talked about. Okay. So the second part of this is that if the estimated project costs significantly increase during the design phase, this is the next year of the project, and they exceed the initial estimates, and therefore the Long Tom Watershed Council, which has said we're raising funds, but now we have more than what we, more costs than what we have funding for. This could make securing additional grant funds more difficult. Long Tom Watershed Council reserves the right to communicate to the city and the Army Corps of Engineers a need to postpone work on the project until additional funds are secured. And that provision is also in the Army Corps of Engineers agreement, that if things get out of control, costs are more than what they are. This is one of the gateways. You stop and you postpone. They have a provision to postpone, not cancel it, just postpone it until we can get all the funding back together again. So, and that was also communicated and confirmed by Mr. Elliot Porter. So I just wanted to point that, because this is germane to this particular conversation. Both agreements have that provision in there to ensure that we don't all of a sudden go wild and
abandon the project,
or just, take out all 3 dams, and I don't know. You never know.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We'll have John and Jen here.
I want to reiterate what Counselor Williams said is, I agree that in addition to the checkpoints giving confidence, I feel I think that you cannot completely eradicate risk in anything like this. You can mitigate it. And it sounds, based on what our attorney has shared, what Lori has said, risk is mitigated pretty darn well, as much as it can be, maybe. Is that right, Steve? Sounds.
Yes, it is. There is always risk. You cannot escape that. The city cannot escape the ultimate responsibility, because the Army Corps of Engineers puts that on the sponsor, on us. So
to think of the risk if we don't do it.
But then at the same time, life is a risk. So what we're doing is making sure, our attorney has said that these agreements together, not separately, but together, mitigates the city's risk to the maximum extent that she believes possible for a project of this kind.
Great. Thank you.
All right, so going back to resolution 2024-16, Councilor Linder had made a first motion on that. Do we have a second on it?
I'll second.
All right, you're
Again,
re-seconding. All right. Woo. All right. Any other conversation before we decide to vote?
Just want to say thank you, Counselor Rich, for pointing out that the 2 should be reviewed together at the same time. That was important.
Yeah, no problem. They go hand in hand. I mean,
Definitely.
without the MOU, we don't, have means to go forward with the Army Corps. So.
Okay, shall we vote? You ready? Councilor Rich, I'm going to start with you first.
Yes.
Councilor Myers.
Yes.
Councilor Cuthbertson.
Yes.
Councilor Williams.
Yes.
Councilor Linder.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. We're moving on to resolution 2024-17. Any other comments or questions before we entertain a motion? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to adopt resolution 2024-17 with the, well, what was, sorry, Steve, what was the special little phrase you said?
I
knew I was gonna
you
forget
guys-
it.
Amended as.
amended.
As amended.
As amended. There you go.
Amended in section 8.2.
Okay, yes, as amended is in section 8.2. Thank you.
You
We're just
got it.
gonna add that on.
Okay, who would like to second it?
I'll second that.
Okay. Okay, any other conversation? Okay, we're gonna vote. Counselor Lindner. Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Cuthbertson.
Yes.
Counselor Myers.
Yes.
Counselor Rich.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
That pause was dramatic. Then I realized he had the mute button that he was trying to get to.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah,
copying, so
I
I'm
do-
trying not to like leave it on live all the time. So I'm copying through the microphone all the time.
Thank you very much. All right, we're moving on to ordinance 2024-04, first reading on an ordinance establishing a lodging tax in Monroe. And that is in our packet as well.
So, reading, so it's intended for ensuring that we have, anytime we increase a tax or fee, we're required to have a public hearing on it, so to speak, or at least an opportunity for the public to be heard. The second one, I will do a little bit more announcing, like in our utility bills and otherwise, that we will be hearing this. Essentially, what we're doing is we're imposing an 8% transient lodging tax on short-term rentals or any motels and hotels or anything else that wishes to come into Monroe from now into the future. I think, as I mentioned, the language, and then the second page is the actual code. This code comes from the League of Oregon Cities, which has been adopted by most cities. This is the, and also complies with several Oregon statutes, which have been modified and changed even just recently in the last session. So this is very much up to date and is also geared to work with cities that work with the Department of Revenue to collect their taxes. So this works hand in hand with that. So in this, you will see that I have a very few highlighted areas. And those are the areas that we can change, essentially. Basically, with a date that is effective, which would be 30 days after the second reading, or if we put in there saying we need to implement this immediately, which we might do, but that would be the effective date. The second is the tax itself, 8%. And I gave you a kind of a chart that shows you that 8% is about exactly what it's what Harrisburg and Junction City charge. You'll see that Corvallis, Philomath, and those areas have 9%. But you can also, if you look regionally, all the surrounding cities, wherever they are in the Willamette Valley, tend to charge about the same amount. That's so no one has any advantage over
Right.
somebody else. Portland is high.
11.
It's 11.5%. Eugene is 4.5, but they also include the county. They have several taxes down there. It isn't just 4.5. So if
Okay.
you're a hotel down there, you pay to the county, you pay to another district, and you pay to the city. So what they're doing is using the combined tax. In Benton County, they have their own. And we don't share in that. So this is purely 8%.
Totals around 11.
Right. So this is, and then there's 1.8% to the state of Oregon. So they charge that as well. So the 8%, you look at it, it's about right in the middle of all these cities in the Willamette Valley. It could be more or less. That's just up to you to make that decision. And the last part of it is where the money goes. So 70% of it must go to tourism by state law. So tourism can be promotion, it could be things that are tourist facilities, such as our restrooms. It's considered a tourist facility. It can go to promotion. 30% can go to wherever we wish. And that's the other area you can change. I said 30% to the general fund, 70% would go into a tourism fund. We'd establish a separate fund.
Okay.
Counselor, do you have a question?
That was exactly what I was going to ask, is if there was just a separate place where we could show that where it went and then be able to see where it's being dispersed to, so that it's clear and we can, because that is wise. I mean, it's nice because then now does that count as being able to use it towards like economic development or not
As long
really?
as
Is
it's
it a little bit
tourism
different?
related, it needs to
Okay.
be tourism, not necessarily economic development, although,
Okay.
although the two, if we
They kind
say.
of go
agri-
hand in hand. That's what I was trying to
Right.
figure out.
If agritourism is a goal of economic development,
Mhm.
then yes, then it would fit.
Okay.
What about our unhoused areas? Does it tourism, would that include cleaning those places up or helping?
No,
Okay.
but it would, but our public restrooms are, which was formed
Mhm.
with the idea of making Monroe a destination
Mhm.
location.
Right.
That is definitely tourism. And
Mhm.
that
Okay.
definitely we could utilize it for that purpose, and that would be great.
Walkway
Yeah.
along the river that we get?
I mean, we
Sure.
could do anything that's tourist related.
But that's the 70%. We still have the 30% that could go towards
Anything.
anything. And so that would help pick up some of, like, if we needed
Well,
to
I think
disperse.
cleaning
or
up
something like
after
that.
a homeless camp would be
Sure,
part of our
or,
tourism.
or removing
Yeah.
removing a derelict house that's it's become an attractive
Right,
nuisance.
right.
Or vehicles and stuff.
Vehicles, that type of thing. So yes, but so that's, so in here, I just said general fund. That
Okay.
way, it's can be used for anything the council desires.
And where is the 70% and 30%? I'm still looking for that in the
Oh, it's,
ordinance.
let's see here.
Distribute to the city's
It's
general
the,
fund.
It's actually in the very fund. It says RS 320-350 provides the city council may impose a new local transient tax
Are you on this
if at
page?
least 70% of the net revenue shall be used to fund tourism promotion
Got
or
it.
tourism related facilities or certain debt related expenses, and no more than 30% of net revenue may be used for city services.
Got it.
And in the actual code, it says that we will put it into a tourism fund
Okay.
dedicated, just like we do our other reserves. And that's also was recommended by the LOC attorneys. I think that's just a great idea because as Counselor Cuthbertson said, you can show
Mhm.
that it's there and you're not using it for some other
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
The 30% goes into general fund, which means we have 30% of that to do as the council wishes. Otherwise, yes.
Go ahead.
I have a question about the wording of the 8% of the rent. I know a lot of Airbnbs and stuff have various fees. Is it like the gross rent that like basically the entire fee that they collect? Or is it just on the
Just the rent.
per night rate and the so if they are bumping up the the cleaning fee and the pet fees and things like that,
Or if meals are
do
provided.
those skate around the
Yes, to answer the question, if, let's say the rent is $50 a night.
mhm.
Okay, then the 8%'s on the $50 per night. If they charge cleaning fees, additional fees to that, that 8% does not apply to the service fees, and it is delineated in state statute. However, they can withhold 5%, and we allow that in here. They can take 5%. Actually, it's a minimum. The state requires a minimum that we allow them to take 5% out of what is owed to us to cover their administrative costs.
Interesting.
So the state, whereas this is a lodging tax, it's not exactly, there's lots of strings.
Well, and also what is the percentage the state takes for
Currently that's 8%.
8% of the, so like if if
So-
you
so-
get $10
Yeah,
in
so-
tax, then they would get 80 cents.
The 80 cents,
And
correct.
the other 920 would go to us.
That is correct.
Okay.
So what do you need? Just
It's a first reading, so.
It's a first reading, so if you wish, you can, there's a couple things you can do. One, you could move it to a second reading. Make a motion to move it to second reading. You could table it for further discussion. All those things are open for you. But there is no decision on the ordinance tonight. We have to go to a second
you
reading.
can make a motion for the ordinance to go to a second.
Second reading.
Okay,
correct.
I'll make a motion that ordinance 2024-04, an ordinance implementing an 8% transient lodging tax be moved to the second reading.
I'll
Great,
second.
wonderful. Any other comments or questions before we vote? Okay. Counselor Rich, I'll start with you.
Yes.
Counselor Myers,
Yes.
Counselor Cuthbertson,
Yes.
Counselor Williams,
Yes.
and Counselor Lindner.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, what do we have on the agenda next? Ad hoc library negotiations advisory committee. So this evening I'll be appointing 2 members to that committee. I'll be appointing Counselor Cuthbertson and Counselor Lindner. They both have accepted. I have asked Roger Urban to join from the South Benton Community Enhancement Association. I have also asked the Benton County Commissioners. They will actually be meeting and discussing that on Wednesday, and they will let me know if a commissioner will be joining us as well. And that's where we are.
Great.
Easy peasy. So. Okay, next up, I've got 2 proclamations. I am stuffed up. I sound horrible. I need some help. Who would like to read the proclamation for the first responders?
I can read that one.
You, Counselor Lindner.
Uh, Is it at the very back? Yeah, okay, thank you. We're doing the first responders one.
Yes, if you could, that'd be great.
Honoring first responders proclamation. Whereas first responders, both men and women, career and volunteer, from 9/11 dispatchers, law enforcement officers, firefighters, emergency medical services personnel, military personnel, search and rescue teams, rescue pilots and divers, and emergency management professionals come together to protect and aid the public in the event of an emergency. And whereas first responders risk their life and safety every day in the performance of their duties to protect our citizens. And whereas at a moment's notice, first responders are quick to respond to dangerous and unnerving situations that threaten our community. And whereas first responders must be ready to provide life-saving services to the residents of the Monroe and South Benton County 24 hours a day, 7 days a week throughout the year. And whereas first responders undergo significant education, specialized training, and personal sacrifice to contribute their excellent and necessary skills for the public good. And whereas we recognize the integral role first responders play in our communities and the benefits derived from their hard work, commitment, sacrifice, and unhesitating dedication. Whereas during National First Responders Day, First Responders Appreciation Month, and throughout the year, our citizens are encouraged to celebrate the service and sacrifice of local first responders who make our community the best in which to live, work, and raise a family. Now, therefore, the Mayor and Monroe City Council do hereby proclaim the entire month of October 2024, which includes National First Responders Day on Monday, October 28th, 2024, as First Responders Appreciation Month in the city of Monroe, and urge all community members to express their personal gratitude to those who serve us all so selflessly.
Thank you for reading that.
That's the most number of whereases I've ever seen.
I know that was a lot. Can I get some help with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, excuse me. This is why I'm not reading tonight. The VFW Day proclamation.
You want me to read that one?
Thank you. I would appreciate that.
Veterans of Foreign Wars VFW Day Proclamation. Whereas the Veterans of Foreign Wars VFW of the United States was founded in 1899 by a small group of veterans who returned from campaigns in Cuba and the Philippines, banding together to create a veterans organization that would advocate on behalf of all veterans. And whereas the VFW is a nonprofit veterans service organization comprised of eligible veterans and military service members from active duty, National Guard, and Reserve Forces. And whereas the VFW's mission is to foster camaraderie among U.S. veterans of overseas conflicts, serve our veterans, the military, and our communities, and advocate on behalf of all veterans. And whereas since its inception, the VFW has been instrumental in the establishment of the Veterans Administration, the National Cemetery System, and the creation of every National Veterans Memorial. And whereas the VFW has played a vital role in virtually every significant piece of veterans legislation passed in the 20th and 21st centuries, to include the honoring our PACT Act, the most consequential expansion of veterans benefits in history. And whereas VFW posts and members continue to play an important role in supporting charitable endeavors in their local communities, as well as fighting for veteran legislation at the state level. And whereas the VFW's 125th anniversary is being observed on September 29th, 2024. And whereas the VFW has 115 posts in Oregon and over 5,900 VFW posts nationally with nearly 1.9 million members, including auxiliaries. And whereas the city of Monroe wishes to honor the veterans residing in our community by supporting them and working with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW Post 3957 in Monroe, Oregon. And now, therefore, the mayor and Monroe City Council do hereby proclaim and recognize the date of Sunday, September 29th, 2024 as VFW Day in the city of Monroe and call this observance to the attention of our citizens and community members.
Thank you.
You had 9 whereas.
We're counting the whereases now. Oh my gosh. Thank you both for reading the proclamations. Okay, we've got old business. We've got property development updates and UGB land exchange update. Do we have any updates on those two, Steve?
So the UGB is still in process. This is just a long process, but I am continuing my discussions. Right now, the discussions are with the what they call the expedited review, which is something that the state of Oregon has put in place that allows small cities under 5,000 to expedite a UGB land swap without having to go through all the rigmarole. There is still rigmarole, I found out from talking with Pat Weingard last 2 weeks ago. And but there is some assistance. So right now I'm looking for some assistance. I've talked to the Council of Governments. And basically what we have to do is review our comp plan and ensure that what we're requesting is within the comp plan itself. This comp plan probably also needs to be updated. That will probably be in this next, in 2025, we can apply for TGM grant to help us with going over the comp plan and updating it. It was done in 2018 quickly to solve several issues because we didn't really have an updated one. And it needs to be revised. We know that wetlands, we know that our population growth is, the numbers are much higher than the 0.3% annually than that was originally forecasted. And if we get another 100 homes in 5 years, that is going to reduce our inventory, housing inventory
Yeah.
considerably.
Yeah.
So I've been advised to take that all into account moving forward. So that's what I'm in the process of doing now, is making that work so that, and then see if we can apply this expedited process so that we don't have to go through the other parts of the planning to do it, which could take a considerable amount of time. So I'm hoping to have some sort of resolution to that next week when Susan gets back from the Council of Government, so we can work on that piece.
Can I just ask a quick question? Is this the
yes.
land exchange? Is this, are we talking about the particular one west of Red Hills?
Yes, this is the acreage, the 20 some acres just to the west of
Okay.
that, with 20 acres over in the Brickyard area.
Yeah, okay.
We're not talking about the area south of that's further south, just that one,
Okay.
that hillside. And as pointed out in the Planning Commission, we were talking about the Pacific National Development. This is, we had a hearing on zoning, and most of the hearing was not about zoning. It was about all the other issues that citizens had with the city and everything else. But what was discussed was how comprehensive the drainage planning, the stormwater planning anymore has to be in order for anything to be approved. And that would be the same thing above Red Hills. You would be taking that water, collecting it, and then channelizing it so that it bypassed
Mhm.
the Red Hills folks. I think that's an important, it's the same thing over here. You would be taking all that water that sheets off that field, collecting it and moving it directly
Right.
into the sloughs rather than allowing it to run under other people's homes.
Mm.
And that's what a big complaint is. So
Mhm.
these developments nowadays require a much more stringent understanding. And I think this, if this were to happen, that phase would correct
Mhm. No,
and
yeah,
prevent some of these issues that did by putting
I agree.
real French drain with real
Mhm.
drainage in
We could
that can
manage
move it
that, yeah.
off to the sides rather than have it run under people's homes.
Mhm.
So that was a big discussion at the last planning commission meeting
Yeah.
on this. The other part of that is we will be having a planning commission meeting in November. That will be the one that goes through and actually makes recommendations to council. We had the public hearing piece for zoning. The next one will be actually the legislative land script that will go through and have the approval of planning commission or recommendations to council for the zoning. And then it will come to you in the November session for approval. And this will be essentially rezoning the area to the each at 12 acres to the east of Red Hills, GRB as
Mhm.
it is now. And as it was pointed out in planning, that allows that area to be developed with more sensitivity to the wetlands that are there. In other words, they can place homes easier and mitigate the wetlands issues that are currently there. It'll take this area over where we were just talking, which was already tentatively approved for 5,500 square foot lots. Most of the lots over there are 5,500. Just simply takes what's existing and says, it already is, so we're gonna make it GRB. It takes our commercial area downtown, which is GRB, and
Mhm.
removes it, makes it commercial, but we're replacing with a lot more GRB, which Pat says that's great because that's where people are going, is less one single residence and more compact development that fits the state's land use goals. Finally, excuse me, the Wilbur Ellis, which we've already had provide conditional commercial, we're just making it commercial. And then the area north of where our little park area is, which is public land, is currently light industrial. We can't really use it for light industrial, but we're gonna turn it into public. So
That's the land between the highway and the old railroad.
Right, this is just north of the library. So that, which is public, that's what we said, we leased it for public use, will be zoned public.
Is it gonna be like considered park?
Yes, Yeah, that's public use means we could use it for any public
So we put
purpose.
some benches or something. out there.
Benches, gravel driveway.
Historic
gravel
house.
Parking area, restrooms,
Bennett House.
Bennett House,
Yeah.
a steam engine, all that good stuff.
We talked about the farmer's market at some point there,
Farmers
maybe.
market, also, it
Talked
could be
about all that
developed for
stuff.
all of those purposes. Skateboard park,
Yeah.
more swing sets, all sorts of things. So that's what it was designed to be, but currently is zone light industrial, probably because of the Union
Railroad.
Pacific Railroad.
Hmm.
But because its purpose has completely changed and we can't use it for any other purpose, it makes sense to make sure it's zoned correctly. The last bit is I am under now more intense discussions of the land between Mill and Oak Streets. This is the Kathy Loving property.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And so folks are now actually, I have developers and engineers now working with me. So it's getting to the serious part of they want to know where the sewers are and they want to know where the water is. And, this part, the piece up front is commercial. So the first section of land next to the road. And I've been adamant that remains commercial. The section behind it is light industrial. It's always been light industrial. They're going to want to come to us and rezone that. So that will be the next step in the process will be petitioning and also rezoning. So we're not there yet. Right now, we're in the developer engineer. Let's figure out what the costs are phase. But the next step will be that the gentleman who is doing this is Randy Myers, Brownstone Development, and
No relation.
he's the one that's been doing a lot of development for Dare Village, the big developments over there. They are also working, their contractor would be Pacific Northwest Development. So I've had conversations now with all those parties in the room. So it's moving beyond just the email stage. It's now moving into the realm of planning. And that's my report on all those wonderful updates.
Okay.
I think that's another zoning because of history. I think they had a mill back in there, so, a grinding mill.
The grinding mill.
Yep. Just like Corvallis did have.
Oh, yeah, over there by Dennison's and at
Yeah.
Washington, yeah.
You go straight down Bell and right there.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome, sir.
We got up next on the agenda, city events. So I'll just run through them real quick. We've got farmer's market until October 3rd. Is that still correct?
Mhm.
Okay. We've got the Halloween Spooktacular on October 31st, Halloween night. And that'll be at City Hall. We'll do the Monroe Community Food Drive, November 1st through December 31st. The Alpine Holiday Festival, that's been announced. It'll be on November 9th. And it'll be at the grade school. The Monroe Community Toy Drive is December 2nd through the 16th. There'll be more details on that to follow. And then the light parade is December 14th. And that's all I could say, apparently. So if there's an event that I don't have on here, let me know or email me. Smoke signals, whatever you want to do, just let me know and I'll get it up on the city Facebook and all that.
You're gonna update your finance and personnel meeting for tomorrow, right?
That is correct. We was going to dive into that next section there, but you are correct. So for the committee reports, budget is, kind of on pause right now. Economic development will be October 10th. Finance and personnel will be tomorrow night here at 6 o'clock. Ordinance, I don't have anything scheduled at this point. Parks, I don't have anything at the moment. Public Works, we had to reschedule for October 2nd.
And parks, we've been kind of on hold. We've been working with the library things a lot, and there's things that need to be partitioned out for us to work on. And so when we're able to take that on, then we can resume.
Okay. I'm down to counselor comments. I don't have any comments because I'm coughing. I'm going to try and cough again. But counselors, do you have any comments?
I wanted to respond to REA's earlier comments
Go ahead.
if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it.
And I would like to just stay here if that's okay and not move over there. I mean, I don't feel like I'm
Steve, is there a preference? This is during counselor comments. Does it matter where she's
not public
positioned
comment.
herself?
For comments, or for any comments councilors wish to make.
So you may stay where you are.
Excellent, thank you. So I met with REA a few weeks ago. I agree with some of his points that we can improve upon our PR with the community. And I think that I feel like I've seen improvements. I see a lot more posts on Facebook, which seems to be the preferred method in our community. So I think that we're working on that. I wish he was still here so that I could respond to a couple of his more specific points. But
His son just arrived.
Oh, okay.
From state, and he apologized. He really
Okay.
wanted to be here.
Okay, thank you. No, I appreciate that. Thank you, Evelyn. I do want it to go on record. And I can also send him a Facebook message as well and let him know how I feel. I wanted to say that I hear what he's saying. I understand his frustrations. His apology felt a little bit like, I'm sorry, but it didn't feel like a very sincere apology, in my opinion. I think he is sincerely apologetic, but I think that I don't feel like it was wholly owned. I appreciate that he recognizes the impact or the consequences of what he had posted early on Facebook about the library. I don't think he weighed the impact versus the intent. And I think that there were some impacts from his intentions that were probably well-meaning, but the impacts were not as positive. He also shared with me when we met in person that it was not just counselors, but also community members who had approached him and asked him to tone it down a little bit. So I felt a little bit singled out earlier tonight. It is not just counselors who have been frustrated. There's nothing wrong with riling people up, but even REA said that this is not an easy city to govern. And I feel like he knew what he was attempting to do when he made comments on Facebook. I do appreciate him advocating for the council, but I feel like that only happened in the second half of all the library stuff on Facebook. In the early posts that he made, I felt like it was a little bit antagonistic, and I did share that with him in person, and he listened. So, yeah, those are my notes from earlier tonight. I again appreciate his apology. It did feel like an I'm sorry, but that's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to add on to that just a little bit. It's very difficult. People may not understand, but being a counselor is very difficult. We are not allowed to step out of our counselor role and just do whatever we want, wherever we want, have meetings wherever we want. It's not appropriate. We can have our own personal opinions and feelings on how things go, but we are to operate as a council. So it makes it very difficult when people do try to approach us one-on-one, and we can listen to you and we can have a little bit of discussion, but we're not, it becomes very difficult to not put us in a position where we're saying something that we shouldn't be saying or moving in a way that we shouldn't be moving without our whole council. There's a reason we're called a council. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. So it's very important for us as we work through things to be working together and not to be working in separate areas. And I think that that's where it makes it really difficult for people to understand kind of how that works, that we should not be speaking individually for the council. It's not appropriate. And so that does lead to a lot of times people being very, not being able to really understand what's going on because we can't really voice what's going on personally, individually. It has to be a council decision and a council moving forward on things. And I know that that's really hard, and especially when there are things where there are attorneys involved or two people. But let me put it to you this way. If I had a situation where I had a problem with Tim, I'm going to borrow Tim, okay? And Tim and I have a situation and we need to work on our situation. And then all of a sudden I'll borrow Evelyn because I know Evelyn well enough to know she won't get offended. All of a sudden, Evelyn is concerned about what's going on with Tim and I, and she wants to really comment on that. And then she goes to Tim and starts talking to Tim about it. And then she comes over to me and starts talking to me about it. And I'm not saying Evelyn's trying to be a bad person. She might have really good intent. But when there is a agreement between two people, it's not always appropriate for a third person to get involved. And so sometimes when we're trying to work things out with issues between two different, like maybe governing bodies or anything like that, it's not always appropriate to be able to involve somebody else when those are going on. And so it makes it really hard because everybody is concerned. And that is the beauty of a small community. We are all in each other's business because we care about each other. And so when it comes to these times when we have to have separation, because there's a certain way that it has to go, it does make it really hard. And I think as counselors, we're all here as volunteers, and we're trying to do the very best job that we can do. And sometimes it doesn't, it's hard not to be able to say, hey, I agree with you or I disagree with you. And this is why, because I'm a person, I still have my own feelings, but as a counselor, I have a certain role that I have to be in, and so does everybody else. And so it does make it really difficult. And so it can be frustrating. I can totally relate to that, but there are times when it's not appropriate for us to speak out of a situation that's happening. So
I think it's okay to meet with constituents and interested parties who have a stake in what's going on, but I also recognize that I have overstepped my role as a counselor and that I have spoken and expressed my personal feelings, which perhaps represented the council unfairly. So I think, as to what you're saying, it's a very precarious position to put counselors in, to ask them to meet with the public individually. I did it. I would do it again, but I probably would put a piece of tape over my mouth because I felt like I was put in a situation that was very uncomfortable. And, it is our role to act on behalf of the public and hear the public. It felt a little bit like being trapped in a bad situation. And, I also just want to add, I used to be a social media junkie, and Facebook it doesn't matter. This is a stupid boohoo story, but like Facebook used to be a lot more safe and enjoyable for me. And I avoid the Monroe community page altogether at this point. It does not feel safe or enjoyable. But whatever, it's Facebook, it's fine.
I haven't read it for 10 years.
It's not worth it. You're not missing anything.
I don't know what was
But
said.
yeah, I don't think there's anybody that ever had an intent of keeping anything from anybody in the community. It's just the way that we're supposed to operate and conduct ourselves. And it makes it hard when you're in a small town and you're friends with everybody and you want to have good conversations.
And
But there's a certain line we have to be careful of.
And counselors are personally liable.
Yeah.
For anything that blows up.
I'll just say that the charter mandates that the council has council rules, and you have adopted council rules as a resolution. And it basically says that the council speaks in one voice.
Yeah.
The mayor is the person that is
The spokesperson.
the spokesperson,
Lucky
or
me.
converse with the mayor and make sure that everyone's on the same page.
We can
And
tag
it's the
team.
same with staff as well.
Mhm.
The mayor and I speak all the time to make sure that anything that we say as staff are speaking on behalf of the council, or we say nothing at all.
Yeah.
Even if we have a 40-60 split and I'm on the 40, I have to give the 60 side if I am directed to talk,
Mhm.
because my 40 didn't pass council muster.
Right.
Right.
Well, we get press inquiries at City Hall, and
Oh, yes.
we
Yeah.
collaborate on that as well. So we had one recently, so.
We
We
just did.
welcome people to come talk to us.
Oh,
But
yes.
We just can't give positions of the city.
Right, of the
Right,
city. You
correct.
can certainly say, this is my personal, I'm now speaking as Lisa Lindner, not
Right.
Councilor
As
Lindner.
long as you
You're right.
qualify.
Well, I have
not
done
qualify.
that. That's what I did when I met with RA. Just for the record, I did not represent
Yeah.
the city, but I said, as an individual, this is, but it puts us, you get into a very murky situation. It's very
Yes.
compromised.
Sometimes
Yeah,
it all of a sudden.
It can be taken out of
Yeah.
yeah,
context,
Absolutely.
yes.
Believe me,
Yeah.
it's happened to all of us.
Yep.
Yes.
that feels
It
gross.
Okay, any other counselor comments? This is good. Okay, I don't have any comments. I do want to mention, oh, maybe I do have one. Crap, sorry. I was going to do a public statement for the meeting tonight on social media and the impact on our community. I have been sick for a week, and so I've shelved it for another time, but I still think it's important to share that information because it has impacted our community. And as you can see from the counselor comments, it definitely has. And with that, I think we will adjourn.
Yeah.
There we go. Have a lovely evening, everyone.